We hot over here? Hello class, this is Professor Boshton, graduate teaching assistant and part-time lecturer of English. And I'm here to tell you about a company that saved me when I need them the most, and that is MoneyZap.com. Everyone knows during times of financial crisis that one of the most important things is access to capital. And that's what MoneyZap.com is. It's easy to use, the sign up takes 2 minutes tops, and you just have to provide a couple of pieces of information, nothing that crazy, and you can have access to $25,000 with a couple of strings attached. MoneyZap.com saved me, it can save you, and I fully endorse our new sponsor in the COVID-19 video lecture series, MoneyZap.com. All right, everyone, before I jump into today's video lesson, I did want to introduce a new asset to the COVID-19 video lecture series. He holds an associate's degree in communications. At one point, he was the 4th ranked Call of Duty Black Ops search and destroy player. And he was the only one that responded to my Craigslist ad and is allowing me to shoot this in his garage. Give it up for young Jamie. He's a new asset to the team. He's going to be bringing some pretty crazy video production skills, including the Instagram page that we talked about. Do you have that up, or is that okay? Well, if we could get that going, that would be very good. So today we are going to be talking about writing with style. I'm sure you've heard about stylistic writing, but it's really an ambiguous thing. No one knows what it means, and that's what today's video lesson is all about. But before we do that, I do need to make a couple of announcements. All right, first announcement is an announcement to end all announcements. I have decided, after receiving numerous emails asking me questions upon questions that I would normally be able to answer in class, that I wanted to create a Google Doc filled with question responses that all of y'all have emailed me. So I posted this on D2L. If you go to content, you scroll to the bottom, it says Google Doc questions. You cannot edit it. But if you go on there, you will find that pretty much every question that has been emailed to me about this case study paper is on there. And if you want to send me any questions via email, I will put it on there for everyone to see. Now, you might be asking, okay, well, he's got all of these questions and responses on there, but how are we supposed to find answers to specific questions? Well, that is a great question, and the answer is you press Control F or Command F, and it brings up a search bar, and you type in a keyword related to your question, and I guarantee you're going to find it on there. Right now we're up to 25 questions. I'm sure it will be more than that as we get closer to this paper due date. And so make sure you send me questions via email, and I will post it on there. But also check the Google Doc and make sure that your question was answered before you email me, Kevin Smith. Also, I have had what I like to call a whistleblower send me an email and tell me that I've been teaching all of you incorrectly. And you know what? You know who you are, and I'm glad that you did it. Here's the thing. The way that I told you to format your title page in APA was wrong. I was basing it off of APA 6, and as some of you may know, APA updated this year to APA 7, and you no longer need to put running head on the title page, or really any title on the title page outside of the centralized title and identifying information. So I will post a link below with how to format an APA 7 for the title page. Pretty much everything else on your paper should remain the same, but make sure you change it over before I grade, okay? So let's get into today's video lesson, which is writing with style.
Careful, Ted. The floor's awful slippery.
Hey, I'm as sure-footed as John Travolta.
Well, I think flatter heels would be a lot safer around here.
Hey, it's style that counts to me.
So today's video lesson, of course, is about writing with style. I've said that 3 times. Writing with style. Writing with style. About writing with style. But as we know, writing is not a stagnant thing. If you took me for 1101, you know how much I love rhetoric. And even if you didn't, you should be familiar with a concept known as the rhetorical situation. And essentially what that means is, regardless of wherever you're writing, you have to take into account the author, the audience, the context, and the message, because depending on who you're writing for, what you're writing, or who you are as a person, that everything about your writing should change, right? So this video is really kind of 3 random tips or strategies you can use to improve your writing for this case study, and you can take these beyond this classroom. Of course, it's going to help you get a good grade in this class, but this could help you write effectively anything moving forward, and they're just really helpful things to keep in mind. The first thing we're going to be talking about is voice. When you think of voice, you think of the thing that comes out of your mouth cavity when speaking to another human. Your voice as a writer is your own unique identifier. It's how people understand that the writing is coming from you as a unique human being. And we all know that one person that has a super annoying voice.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world? Guys!
And that can really throw you off from concentrating on the message that they are trying to say. And you can think about that in the same context of writing. If your voice is annoying, if it throws people off, they're not going to want to listen to what you have to say. So having a consistent voice, a pleasant voice, a voice that doesn't distract the reader away from the message is important to effective and clear communication. Okay. So I had to take this class when I was an undergrad called Writing with Style. It's where I'm stealing the title of this video lesson. But this was the book we were assigned in the class, and it spends a good portion of the first 5 or 6 chapters talking about voice, because that is really an important component of stylistic writing. But I found a section in the book that kind of defines what voice is. So I will post this on D2L. It's from page 38. The voice readers hear in your writing is a blend of the grammar, the diction, and the sound qualities of your language. All of these should suit the writing situation, or rhetorical situation, if you want to think of it that way, or the demands of your topic and the relationship between you and the readers. Like a noise of the tree that falls in the forest, your written voice exists only when it is processed in the reader's mind. But nothing can help or hurt you more. Good writing projects a voice readers trust and respect. Their sense of your personality and intentions color the way they see everything else in whatever you've written. Wow. So if you think of voice as being a blend of grammar, diction, and sound qualities, you can think of what you might want to change when deciding how to project your voice. One of the biggest problems I've seen in college freshman writing isn't necessarily that people are bad writers, it's that they pretend to be something they're not. What this book refers to as the academic are people that over-rely on diction to establish a voice as a credible source, or their voice as a credible source. So using big words constantly, overusing synonym.com, maybe even popping into thesaurus.com. All of those things are good, but when you over-rely on big words and big phraseology, it's just, I can tell. I know who writes like that. I don't write like that. Jamie doesn't write like that. So one of the biggest things that you want to accomplish with your own voice as a writer is sticking to a voice that's naturalistic, that's reflective of you as an individual, and balancing that with a more complicated, nuanced, academic voice. But going either direction isn't really helpful. If you over-rely on writing the way you speak, it might come off bad. If you over-rely on trying to use big words and phraseology, it might come off as bad. And so bad voices are definitely a distraction to professors that are grading your paper. But good voices are always helpful. Yeah, that's stupid. Many times, kind of like when you're writing an essay in college or applying for a job or asking for more money from moneyzap.com, you're expected to use what we like to call standard language.
Kelly, the Hot Pockets are ready.
Are you f***ing kidding me, Mom? Are you kidding me right now? No. I told you I was recording.
Come eat.
You're kidding me.
Alright, well, I'm gonna go get something to eat.
All right. Well, we are going to take a little bit of a break, and we will be back to talk about code meshing. What are these like?
Philly cheesesteak.
Okay.
Pretty nice.
It is nice. Man, I told her not to come in. Did I not? We talked to her?
But it was worth it.
Are we hot?
Yeah.
Okay. Students, I just want to apologize for that interruption. It was totally uncalled for, and I promise it's not going to happen again. I've talked to the person that's leasing this office for me, or this production studio, and they understand the ground rules, and moving forward, we're not going to have anything like that. So, code meshing is, according to They Say, I Say, blending your colloquial and academic styles in a way that reinforces important points in your essay. So, I am going to be reading from They Say, I Say to demonstrate exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Sure, it might be fine to translate challenging academic ideas into plain everyday language, but what if your everyday language, the one that you use when you're most relaxed with your family and friends, is filled with slang, euphemisms, or even questionable grammar? And what if your everyday language is an ethnic or regional dialect or a different language altogether? Is there really a place for language like that in academic writing? And the answer is yes. According to Chapter 9, one of the ways that you can use colloquial or everyday language and use your own voice is to reinforce important points in the essay, like I just said, but the book gives templates for how to do that exactly. On page 120 and 121, they call it the translation recipe, and this is what it says. First, state the point in academic language. So let's say you've already gotten this because all of you have had to write 3 pages of a rough draft, so you should have what your idea of academic language is. And then translate that point into everyday language. So for example, let's say you want to translate an important point in your essay. You might say, Scholar X argues this, but in other words, this is what Scholar X is trying to say. So instead of things like, in other words, you could try variations like, essentially, Scholar X argues this, or X's point points out that blank, or plainly put, blank. You can see how the power of taking other people's words, academic scholars, and saying, here's what they say, but here's what they really mean, right? If you can translate things into your own words, like I keep saying, it's going to make sense to you, but it will also probably make sense to me who's reading your essay. If you don't understand what you're trying to argue, I don't think I'm going to understand what you're trying to argue, right? I will say there is a caution, a warning that I need to say. Putting things into your own words isn't always the best trick. It isn't always the best thing that you can do to illustrate a point, but when it does work, it works. And that's all I'm going to say about it. So I want to challenge y'all to consider taking important points in your essay and trying to translate them into your own ideas in ways that you would talk to your friends and your family, and not necessarily like you're writing to your professor, and see if that rhetorically emphasizes the point you're trying to make. So the third and last thing that I wanted to talk, hold on. So we talked about voice, we talked about code meshing, and the third and last thing that I wanted to talk about in today's video lesson is the known new contract. the known new contract is one of the best conceptual ways I've ever been taught to think about organizing writing, okay? I will say, when I talk about this, you're gonna say, oh, Professor Boston, this is obvious. This is common sense. Everyone knows this, but just bear with me as I run through it, because you can use this in your own writing, not only to connect sentences, but to connect paragraphs and to connect main ideas throughout your entire paper. And really, like I said with these other points, you can use this beyond this classroom for the rest of your life. So the known new contract is essentially this. As human beings, when we communicate information, we rely on things that have been previously established, known information, to connect to new ideas. So here's a very basic example. If I say, my dad plays baseball, what would you expect the next sentence to be? Right. I want to pause like Dora. If I say, my dad plays baseball, you would expect the next sentence to be something about my dad, who's the subject of the sentence, and something about baseball, which is the object of the sentence, right? So I would imagine the follow-up sentence would be like, his batting average is .3000, which is not true. He's a horrible baseball player, but let's just say, for the sake of this argument, he has a batting average of 300, right? So the reason the known new contract exists as a theory is because if you take away this first sentence, my dad is good at baseball, and you just have the sentence, his batting average is 300, that makes absolutely no sense by itself. It relies on the known information before it to introduce the new information, which is he has a 300 batting average. And this is one way you can think about your own writing, right? That's a very simplified example, but a lot of the times, if you've ever taken an English professor that's not me, or taken English in high school, you get teachers that tell you, your writing doesn't flow, it doesn't connect, right? Sentences seem disconnected, it's awkward. If you start thinking about what does my reader already know that I've said, and how can I use that known information to connect to new information, things like connecting paragraphs will become so much easier, right? Jamie, did we have anything else beyond that, or is this?
I don't think so.
Can you do a check? Can you pull up remember we talked about it in the meeting? I hired you on, I took you under my wing, and you need to start stepping it up just a little bit. This is ridiculous. So that's actually it for today's video lesson, because we're getting close to the case study being due. I've kind of already hit you with all the main points, and this is some kind of subtle sprinkling of information to help you in the later stages of your writing. Just remember, think about your voice as a writer. Think about how you can mesh your voice with an academic style through code meshing, and think about how you can connect sentences through the known new contract, and more importantly, connect paragraphs together and main ideas, right? So for today's activity, what I want y'all to do is go to D2L like you normally do, and go to in-class assignments, and there is an assignment called Writing with Style that uses concepts covered in this video. This assignment is going to be worth 2 in-class assignment grades because I am not going to assign any more in-class assignments moving forward. This is it. For the Friday D2L activity this week, don't worry about it. There's nothing. I want you to work on your papers. And please check the Google Doc FAQ for any questions you have with the paper before emailing me, because it will be constantly updated. The second thing is next week I will not be recording a video like you've been watching. I'm going to be doing a live stream Q&A where I'll be walking through how to format an abstract in APA and how to format that in Chicago too for the 2 students that are doing Chicago. But I'll also be taking any questions, and this is going to happen on Wednesday of next week. I will post on Monday of next week with more details. But again, any questions that you have, please email me, please check the Google Doc, and I hope all of y'all are having a good quarantine and staying safe. I will see y'all next week, and have a good one.